hit that super chat. I'm going to post in my community chat. Let's do our intros again. Just in case you guys can't hear me. Like, share, subscribe, hit that super chat. Yeah. So and I'm gonna post in my community chat probably after this live. As a matter of fact, let me fix something I didn't realize earlier. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Yeah. So yeah, the Z finally took a crap on me, you guys. No, the topic is not gonna be on that. I'm just giving y'all a little. Yeah, my schedule has been crazy. I got a chance. I got a chance to wash it, and I drove it to work last night, and last night it threw me the battery sign. So me forgetting battery actually means alternator. When your car throws you the battery sign, it's actually the alternator, right? So I'm thinking I could just get it to an advanced auto parts or something like that in the morning. I'll be all right. And it started acting up on me. I turned it over this morning, leaving work, and it started with no problem. So I'm like, okay, I'm still gonna go to the advanced parts or whatever, and hopefully I make it. And nope, leaving the ATM, it took a crap on me, a big crap on me, right over one of the intersections, not too far from where I am, and it just puttered right past the intersection. It actually broke down in a perfect spot, right out the way, right, like just it looked good on the tow truck because I just washed it, right? So yeah, man. So yeah, it's the alternator. So it's not it's not the end of the world. It's nothing big, but it is the alternator. And yeah, so that's gonna be fun to spend however much money, and I might as well do a tune-up on it because it's kind of due for that. So yeah, all of that. Welcome to owning a 30-plus-year-old car. Um, when one thing breaks or gives out, you might as well, because the mechanic's gonna be in there anyway. You might as well, right? Like, share, subscribe, hit that super chat. Definitely hit that super chat to help Mr. Z pay this goddamn this freaking mechanic bill. Dollar counts. Every dollar counts. Yeah. So it conked out on me, but and I was it's the funny thing about these type of cars, right, is that like it's on the side of the road and it's gleaming because obviously the sunlight is coming out, right? And it's like it looks nice because I just washed it and it's like a bright red car. It's at the name for it is Aztec Red, right? So it's gleaming and it look nice and it's broke down on the side of the road. So I'm getting compliments, and like my girl pulls up because she's around the corner in the tow truck. Like no one's allowed, on the tow truck except for the driver. Like I guess this is post-COVID rules or something. So um, so she's like, when I got in the car because I'm following the tow truck to the mechanic shop, my girl's like, people were staring at your car and stuff, and I was like, yeah, well, number one, it's broke down on the side of the road, but secondly, it like looks nice, right? Right? So yeah, it happens, right? Okay, so topic at hand. So I didn't completely finish. So Dr. Thunder, if you said anything in the last like 20 minutes ish of your stream, I did not catch it. I am gonna finish it though, and I might have to revisit this. So I'm being a little impatient by covering this without finishing it. Not smart, by the way, because I might have to correct myself later on. uh, Quan said 2 on the Z. Thank you, bro. Thank you. Um, but yeah, so and for the rest of you, I'm about to jump on the expressway, so any super chats I will catch when I get to a red light. If you don't see me read it, oh, the Haitian sent me a super chat, and I don't know why I didn't see it when I was alive, and this was like 2 videos ago. So the Haitian, shout out to you, brother. I read my super chats out loud. My apologies. I didn't see that one until like yesterday or something like that. I was re-listening to myself because I do re-listen to myself to make sure that you guys can hear me, to make sure my backgrounds aren't the worst. I know they'd be pretty loud because I'm usually in the car because I'm usually on the way to work, from work, some attaining to work, or pertaining. I said attaining, pertaining to work. Yeah. So yeah. So the Haitian, shout out to you, brother, for that super chat a few days ago. So I just wanted to make sure to shout him out. So back to Dr. Thunder and his coverage of affirmative action and Tucker Carlson, or how Tariq Nasheed called him, Tucker don't be a sucker, Carlson, who, if I'm not mistaken, is a son or stepson or son-in-law of a Swanson heiress or something along those lines, which would explain a lot. So I want to be very clear about what some of these wealthy people are doing. But before we get to that, let's address a lot of what Dr. Thunder was saying, which was absolutely 100% true, where no one wants to touch the woman aspect of affirmative action and the white woman aspect of affirmative action in particular. I also want to say this is also still white men getting white women together, right? So we got the repeal of Roe versus Wade, and we have this look into affirmative action. I would argue that white men know exactly what they're doing. They're yanking white women's chain, and I said it the way I meant it. They're saying, you're going back in the kitchen by hook or by crook. Yes, you're going back to being barefoot and pregnant, and whoever's in the way just got to get it too, right? So once again, black people and their issues is being used as a political football when white people get into it. So the more you see Tucker Carlson avoid the female question of it all, the feminist question of it all, the white woman question of it all, is the more he knows what it is and he's not going to say it. This is him getting white women back to where, because remember, Tucker Carlson has done a couple of segments about the issues with boys and men on his channel. I mean, on his channel, on his show, right? Which leads me to believe that he knows the issues and he can't come out and say it. And this is kind of how the conservatives usually move, limiting options. Maybe not the brothers that are conservative, right? Black men, because we don't have that power. But white conservative men, that's how they do it. That's why they are about voter fraud. That's why they're about all of that. Because they always are about, see, it's funny because they're the ones that keep on talking about the freedom stuff. The number one thing they start doing is taking away all the colors in the crayon box, and they leave you with 3. Them, and them. Choose one. That's like conservative tactic 101 when it comes to voting, when it comes to any decision making. Yeah, you're open to vote for like these 3 pre-selected candidates anyway. So where the liberals will socialize people to think a certain way, and then that's how they get you. The conservatives will let people do whatever they want, but it's always the 3 people that they wanted anyway. Choose one. 2 people. Choose one. Both of them think like me anyway. So I'm saying that to say, you know, Tucker Carlson is purposely ignoring the obvious. Tucker Carlson's not dumb. The Fox News staff is not dumb. The people that work for his show in particular are not dumb. They know exactly what it is, Dr. Thunder. Right? And I know my title doesn't have Dr. Thunder. I'm going to fix all that later on. You know, and hopefully you guys can still hear me. I will be repeating myself probably more than once, just in case I said something that you guys can't hear, because I am about to jump on the expressway. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, so Tucker Carlson is not dumb by a long shot. I've been following Tucker Carlson since the days of MSNBC, before he even got to Fox News, right? Tucker Carlson is not dumb. He's been pining for this position for the longest. He knows what it is. He knows that it's primarily benefiting women. He knows. He's not going to say it because, like Dr. Thunder said, the Democrats and the Republicans are in cahoots with the feminist thing. Now, the Republicans are playing a game where I'm going to get at you without getting at you, or without saying I am. And this reminds me of, and I referenced this before, this reminds me of when Rush Limbaugh was on The Breakfast Club, right before he passed. And he essentially told black people, you get what you get because too many of y'all are Democrats. Which, by the way the country is going, black people have to kind of move as a unit to make things happen. And the more we disperse our vote, the more damage it does. Now, I would like us to play who's gonna give me what I want with the Democrat and Republican Party, but we have to move largely as a unit, because the more that vote fractures, the more ineffective it is, right? That's unfortunately for our population number term, and getting the parties to kind of play our game, maybe just a little bit, but eventually it has to still be a unit vote, right? Unfortunately. But fortunately also, if we could get the women to act 14%, and it hovers between 12 and 14%, right, of the US population, and not even that much in voters when you consider how many black men are ineligible to vote because of felonies in different states, and then those states don't allow you to vote afterward. Yeah, and then how many black men aren't voting in the first place, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, so Tucker Carlson knows what it is. His staff knows what it is. They're purposely avoiding it. They're trying to get the white women back in line, and that's why they're doing everything but mention white women. And they're using the poor old Asians to be like, look, the Asians are being discriminated against because we're too heavily focused on the blacks and the Latinos. Tucker Carlson knows better, bro. If Tucker Carlson works at Fox News, I guarantee you that Fox News staff look whiter than white bread. They got a few token black people, just like they have a few token black people on Fox News on air. I guarantee you the rest of the staff look just like what we see on camera. I put money on it. I put money on it. Right? Especially some cringy ass place where there was a sister on Fox News that said when Bill O'Reilly would flirt with her, he would make like kind of these sexual, racial comments. Yeah, that white guys that do that, for white, not PC place. Now, if you want to hear the drawbacks of not being in a PC place, you get Bill O'Reilly, oh cringe. You imagine Bill O'Reilly, oh cringy ass, and he's tall as hell, oh cringy ass, flirting with you. Black women, any black woman that's listening right now, women, any woman that's listening right now, Bill O'Reilly. Ugh. Right? You imagine all the corny jokes? Same thing with Tucker Carlson. Same thing with Steve Doocy. All those corn monsters, corny cornballs. What's the other one? Kill me. You imagine those cringy ass white dudes flirting with you? Right? Those are the people, even Steve Doocy's son that's on there now. By the way, he aged like crap. God, that dude is younger than me. He looks like he's damn near 40. God, bro, them jeans is garbage. Your jeans are trash. I wouldn't be surprised if he was into sports when he was in college and everything. That don't mean anything. Your jeans, man, give it 5 years, he could be looking like he damn near 50. I did it, Mr. Z being petty. And by the way, I'm one of those people that don't actually like complimenting myself on being petty. It's weird whenever I see people be like, well, I'm being petty. It's actually, I don't know, the whole thing about like saying you're being petty in like a positive way is kind of weird to me. It's not actually supposed to be a positive, it's supposed to be a negative, but okay, whatever. Am I gonna jump this way? I am. I'm gonna be that guy. So going back to the topic at hand, so the Fox News staff know, and yeah, they're trying to get their women in line in the way they deem fit. So they're going to limit their options, and limiting their options is some states repealing Roe versus Wade, if not completely giving you a super small window to have the abortion, right? The window, like it's only a day's past when you would even know if you're pregnant, practically, right? These people are like evil geniuses. They're like muhaha evil geniuses, seriously. Whether you align with them or agree with them or not, you gotta like respect the evil genius of them all. Especially like when they lie by omission and stuff like that. And like, but that's what Tucker Carlson was you know, engaging in, is lying by omission, right? Using the one thing that everybody in America universally dislikes, black people, and using the sassy black woman shadow to essentially say, hey, these are the people, but they're trying to get these women back in line, right? Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. So this has nothing to do necessarily with black men. We already know, like Tucker. I said Tucker. I'm sorry, Dr. Thunder already said it. They're not going to mention the gender or sex aspect of it all. They're not. They're not. First of all, that would mean Republicans would make a direct shot at black women, and then Democrats would bury them with the whole moral high ground thing of black women. Tucker, these people aren't dumb by a long shot. The Democrats are waiting. They would wait for Tucker Carlson to slip up just in the slightest and say, yeah, you know, Shaquita or what did Raven Simone said, Rhoda Nitra, right? Benefiting from affirmative action, and then Democrats would bury them with the whole moral high ground of black women. That's why they put black women in that position in the first place, right? So he stays away from sex because, number one, he's not going to overtly say that they're trying to get white women together. Number two, because Democrats would bury them once they put their big toe over the line of mentioning race and sex, which would be a black woman, right? Because they're not going to mention Latinas. Obviously, Tucker's already trying to play sympathetic figure with the Asians. He don't really care. By the way, the person that the organization that's behind the Asian organization that's pushing for the repeal of affirmative action is the same white people that have been trying to privatize schools for the longest. This actually has nothing to do with anything except privatizing public schools, by the way. By the way. Like, when I say they're evil geniuses, understand they're 10 steps back looking forward, because the goal was to lower their taxes and privatize schools anyway. So they're making an in-run around black people and using Asians not getting into school because affirmative action benefits everyone apparently but Asians and qualified white people. And they're using that to actually, number one, maintain their position. And this is where this is where I wanted to go earlier. The elites want to maintain their position. Yes, we already know that. So the few people that actually are qualified, but like something's in the way, and they benefit from affirmative action, namely black men, namely black American ADOS FBA men, the handful of them, like the one or two that actually got through the cracks because of affirmative action, and then you actually have a justice claim, and you're those few people that actually checks the hell out of white people, they want to keep you away. What Tucker Carlson and all these elite, both Democrat and Republican, but especially Republicans, are engaging in is the Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged side of the game. That's what they're engaging in, right? And so for them, it's break the institutions if they're not working for me. For me and my super small cohort of white elite men and whatever one or two Asians and black people and Latinos that's part of that. Tucker Carlson is part of that. So yes, Dr. Thunder, I've also watched Tucker Carlson mention the big banks and mention, monopolies, and he kind of, does a tacit agreement with the working class people on those points, right? Word service, right? Lip service, I'm sorry, to those points. Yes, I've seen him do it also. But when you put his back to the wall, this is the real Tucker Carlson, right? Thank God I decided to stay on the expressway, because the traffic does clear up a little bit, and I'm way further along than if I would have tried to do local. But yeah, so, what Tucker Carlson's engaging in is not surprising to me whatsoever. They wanted to go out of affirmative action the day it got signed in the 1960s, and they're not going to mention sex because they don't want to come off as sexist, because it's way more acceptable to come off as a bit racist and kind of dog whistle racism or anti-blackness in particular, right, than it is to say anything even slightly misconstrued as sexist and anti-woman. So Tucker Carlson is actually being very genius. Once again, him and his staff are being very genius in how they're going about this, right? How they're executing this. It's smart, actually, right? I've been following Tucker Carlson for a long. What he's engaging in is actually really smart. We're not going to mention anything about sex or gender. Nothing. We're going to we're going to placate Asians and supposedly smart whites, right? By talking about race and continuing to imply unqualified black people getting a leg up, like, right? Like what Tucker Carlson is making it seem is like Keisha from the hood is getting a chance to become a doctor or an attorney off of affirmative action alone, and she's like the least qualified person in the universe. By the way, nothing about legacy admission, because you're going, if you mention legacy admission when mentioning affirmative action, you're going at both conservative and liberal, Democrat and Republican and independent elites. And that's why Tucker Carlson also stays a million miles away from that. Because we're talking about people like him. Right? Tucker Carlson's not dumb. You see how far he stayed away from mentioning anything, at least so far from what I'm listening to. Remember, I said I didn't get past, like, I didn't get to the last, like, about 20 so odd minutes of Dr. Thunder's video, which I am going to do, by the way, Dr. Thunder. Y'all support Dr. Thunder, spell Doctor all the way, right? Dr. Thunder, you know, great brother, you know, covers these things, independent brother. Slowly him and Roger are like, whether they know it or not, are like trying to convince me of being an independent also. I have left-leaning tendencies, mainly because of social and political issues and economic issues. Really, political and economic issues is why I lean left, because I do believe that there should be a safety net, a robust safety net. But I think the reason why America doesn't engage in that is because of race. If America was a white homogenous country, the safety net would be borderline like, you know, Northern Europe safety net. It would be Norway or Finland or Sweden net. But because black people, and we will cut our nose to spite our face. You right? Because of black people, and anything that benefits black people, even an inch, but definitely an inch more than white people, we will not approve of it, even if it screws us in the long run. Right? So let's see what happens with affirmative action. Let's see if anybody like on that level ever mentions the gender or sex part of it all. I mean, it's so glaring and blatant, as Dr. Thunder was saying. And I think watching these people, you know, tie themselves into pretzels, into knots, avoiding the obvious, avoiding mentioning the obvious, like it's benefiting our women way too much, and they're outpacing the men, at least in education, and slowly outpacing the men in income and whatnot, especially when you get under a certain age. Yeah. Right. And there is something to say about the groupthink aspect of the guy that was, you know, presenting this to the Supreme Court, and Clarence Thomas said what he said, which is like, I've heard similar argued for segregation. But no, let's be very clear. Dr. Thunder was right about the elite then hand selecting what faces they want in those spaces, because those people still think like them, because the system has a bleaching effect, right? That's how you get so many black people and other people of color that are like, you know, that like are people of color or like different. I mean, that's how you get Peter Thiel, right? Gay white dude that still has supremely conservative leanings, but yet he claims to be libertarian, which is a bunch of crap, right? He's just a conservative gay dude, right? That wants absolute free market everything. And as Black Guru said, which is 100% right, y'all open this system up to complete free market everything, no safety nets, no nothing, and people will be killing each other in the street. And everybody that's not uber wealthy, if you don't got a private jet and private security, that's your ass. And you and the handful of other, not handful, but you and the other upper middle class people don't have everything within your gated community, and you can't afford to pay for a private, you know, police firm, that's your ass. You don't have enough guns, you don't have enough bullets. I'm sorry. Right? I'm just going to disabuse you of the delusion that you and the other upper middle class people will have enough ammunition and wherewithal and skills to save you from all the hordes of poor people that would be instantly poor because of that type of economic environment. I'm just going to disabuse you of it now. Right? This is once again an elite war on regular people being couched as something specific against black people. By the way, once again, we're not, black men in particular are not benefiting from affirmative action, even though it was supposed to be about black men, right? Big Kev says too much of the safety nets stifles upward mobility. I can agree with that. I see where you're going with that, and I can agree with that. And actually, that's somewhat of the argument that's made against universal basic income, right? So like, there is a part of starving or hunger that makes people innovate, right? Right? The mother of innovation is necessity, right? So there is that, and yes, so that is true. But please don't miss the point that I'm making. Whether me and you agree or disagree on that, the reason I would argue that there isn't a higher safety net is because of black people, right? And because white people like Tucker Carlson are like, yeah, no, we don't want those lazy, shiftless Negroes, right? We don't want them benefiting from a system in taxes that we white men put together, right? So I can agree with you, brother. I definitely can agree with you on that, right? But what I'm saying is the reason why there isn't one and that we're not even having that particular debate is because of black people, right? And don't miss the part of Tucker Carlson being an elite, and much of why he argues and debates from his particular angle is to protect his position, right? That's a white elite man. Right? And they're going to do the lip service of working class men. Let me tell you something. Most of these poor and working class white dudes are not slotted to be in those positions either. Quiet as kept. Those dudes coming from the Appalachian Trail, all in the deep south of Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, they're not, those people are not, those white dudes deep with southern accents, they're not slotted to be in those positions either, right? That's the other part of the game, right? That's the other part of the game that Tucker Carlson was not saying. Once again, we already know that white guys, like, they're the number one group of people that have like dropped out of college over the past couple of years as percentage, right? All right. So like, you know, Tucker is playing a very interesting game. Once again, I love that we're having these conversations in the black manosphere. Like I keep on saying, like BGS keeps on saying, it's more than just about the women. I love the political talk, even when I disagree with some of you, even when we disagree vehemently, and it turns borderline into a shouting match. I love at least we're having the discussion, because the discussion leads to better ideas, right? Like shout out to the brother Rogish, right? When he says great sharpening at the end, right? Of any stream we're on that he's on, and he says great sharpening, that's what he's talking about, right? Iron sharpens iron, right? And it allows for me to consider what you brothers are saying. When I have debates with Rael, it allows me to consider what that angle, right? Maybe think about things I never considered before, or things that I tacitly or on the surface thought about. Think about it a little bit more deeply, right? So with Tucker, and the fact that Tucker does not have someone like, who would take his head off with that? A Black Uru or a BGS, right? Even as much as some of us don't like her, an Yvette Carnell. Yvette Carnell would take Tucker's head off. Tone Talks, y'all can call him Mushmouth if you want, would take Tucker's head off. Y'all saw the first debate, I don't care what nobody say, Tucker took Tariq's head off the first debate. That second one though, Tariq handled Tucker. For those of you that don't know, Tariq's been on Tucker Carlson's show a couple times, for you that don't know. And that's why he said, don't be a sucker, Tucker. That's where I got that from. It's funny. It's funny. right? Y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. The super chats will be read out loud. But yeah, that second debate, and when Tariq said, "Don't be a sucker, Tucker," right? Y'all don't get it yet. Y'all don't get what's happening yet. Especially like the one thing I will give the conservatives, and that's what, like, the conservatives to me come off way more innovative in their strategy, and they're way more like willing to throw everything at the wall than the Democrats, right? I'm not saying the Democrats don't engage in underhanded tactics, but the Republicans are really like, screw it, we'll anything to win. Rules? What rules? No, we rules are for the losers. Right? Rules are for losers. Rules are what we give the people after we beat them, to block them up from getting to where we are and usurping our power. Right? One thing you gotta give the Republicans, man. That's one thing you gotta give them. So when you see Tucker Carlson speaking the way he is, lying by omission, twisting himself into knots, to not twisting himself into a pretzel, to not mention the very glaring, obvious gender and sex part of the conversation, you know he's doing that because he's being disingenuous. The whole argument is disingenuous. Using Asians as the sympathetic figure is being disingenuous, right? Because even people like him don't want too many East and South Asians in academia. Even people like him. But right now they're using the Asians as the weapon against mainly black people, but against their own women. Right? And the Asians, and by the way, all you South and East Asians, this is why everybody else look at y'all sideways, are too desirous to go along with it. Right? I want to be very clear what I'm saying again. This is bigger than even the Asian community. This is white elite men who want to privatize everything, including public school, right? Using the East Asians and the South Asians, mainly the East Asians, as the sympathetic figure so that these white guys can push their agenda anyway. Right? This has really nothing to do with the Asians. They're just a prop. Right? That's what game these people are playing right now. The same guy, I forgot his name, that's been pushing, that's behind the scenes, the white guy that's behind the scenes that's helping to push this, has been pushing this before the Asians ever got involved. Right? At the end of the day, that Asian quota is not gonna, they're not gonna let Harvard turn into a school 35% Asian. It's not gonna happen. It's not. Right? Once again, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Super chats will be read out loud. But yeah, it's not. That's not the game these people are playing. Right? So Tucker is being, duplicitous as hell, right? Coy as hell, because this once again is him and other white men trying to get white women back in line, right? This is what it looks like to yank someone's chain politically and socially. You cut them off at the knees. And Tucker and the conservatives and the Republicans are cutting white women off at the knees. They're like, okay, yeah, you think you're black women? You think you're going to be able to do all that strong and independent stuff? No. How about abortions all through the South? Limited, right? Now we going after your positions, your education, right? And your income. Let's see if you can be strong and independent without these things. When you're forced to have that child and bring it to term, and when you don't make that type of money anymore or don't have that education anymore. Right? Right? That's why you see Tucker Carlson not mention legacy admissions, which takes up at least third around the country of these different colleges and universities of primarily white people. So you go after affirmative action instead of legacy and missions. Once again, that's why he's being that's why to me he's being disingenuous. The whole argument is disingenuous. You're not mentioning your real problem, which is understandable, right? Which is the sex of the people that are going in, white women, because even black women in these spaces don't got no power, right? They know their props, right? They know they're the token. But Tucker is, once again, being disingenuous and talking about everything but the women. In particular, the white women who have benefited the most from affirmative action. Then he maintains and protects his class position by not mentioning legacy and missions. Right? These people claim they're not about groupthink, and they are about groupthink. They're about protecting their group. Don't ever get it twisted. They're about nepotism by evidence of Tucker Carlson's entire freaking existence. Which y'all thought it was only Anderson Cooper? Nope. There's a bunch of those people. Right? If you start shaking that tree to see who got on because of who they mommy is, who they daddy is, all through the media, all through political spaces, all through the banks and who kind of maneuvers our economics in the U.S. It's nothing but nepotism. And like family related nepotism, not so much friend related nepotism. Yeah, you as the friend, you get to, kind of, you're a hanger on and you get to kind of ride the wave. But no, family. Like I told y'all, Steve Doocy's son is working for Fox News now. Right? Tucker Carlson is a Swanson relative. Anderson Cooper is a Vanderbilt. Big Kev says, too much government red tape oversight creates just as much poverty and lack of upward mobility as no government regulations at all. I agree with that. I actually do agree with that. I'm not about making everything public sector. So if I'm coming off like that, my apologies, but I am not about everything being public sector. No. All right. I don't agree with that. Right. But understand these people, and that's why I kind of when back in 2016 I understood that there was a wave behind Bernie Sanders and Trump, and you put people in the interesting position of like, if I can't have Bernie, and this is why I was telling one of the women that I worked with that the Bernie bros are not going to vote for Hillary Clinton, right? Because you strip them of the hope when you sabotage Bernie Sanders, and when you strip them of the hope, they were not going to vote for middle of the road Hillary Clinton. That was never going to be a thing for white young men. Hell no. Hell no. Right? And they voted for Trump out of spite. Even if he and his policies doesn't benefit them one iota, it's psychological, right? Living vicariously through Trump, loving seeing him say whatever the hell he wants to say, right? But I'm bringing Trump up in this conversation and Hillary up to say, if this country had to default into one direction, it would not default into communist. It would default into fascist. It would default into fascist. Right? Especially now, we spent centuries socializing people to be anti-black, and we spent decades socializing people to be anti-government, me, my, when the government is just a collection of people, right? And by default, you socialize people to be private industry. Nothing wrong with that, right? But then what about the people that are already in position? And you've socialized the people, the everyday person to aspire to be like them. What happens then? Right? Shout out to Rogish. Rogish just jumped in here. I mentioned you earlier, bro. And how whenever you end a stream, you talk. Whenever we're ending a stream, you say thanks for that sharpening, right? Because that's what a good, vigorous debate does. It sharpens you, right? And I agree with Dre. Dre says that's why we need a balance. And yeah, I agree. We need a balance. We do need a balance. Tucker Carlson pretends to play balance while he works at Fox News. And he, does segments like this, being supremely disingenuous, tying himself into a pretzel, avoiding the obvious, hop, jump, skipping, matrix dodging the sex and gender part of the conversation and the legacy and missions part of the conversation, and the fact that not that many black people in general benefit from affirmative action, specifically black men and black boys, both in the workplace and in schools, right? That shows you how disingenuous Tucker Carlson is being. I want to stress that to Dr. Thunder. Tucker Carlson, that's always been Tucker Carlson. He's purposely not saying the obvious, especially the part about legacy admissions, because that goes directly at even conservatives on his level. Because if you go at legacy admissions, you're not just going at the Democrats, right? First of all, you're allowing too much new money to enter these spaces. Then you're destabilizing. What would be the point of having all of this money if you can't legitimize it by your child going to particular schools, even if they're dumb as hell? That's what the whole college school scandal was about, right? New money, trying to legitimize themselves because they're going to put their children in these positions, right? And so their kids need to have these degrees. They need to have come from these particular schools. So you legitimize that child by buying their way in. What's the point of legacy admission? What's the point of having these children? You can't have these children when they become adults in their mid to late 20s, 30s. You can't have them in these positions, and then when someone like us speak to them and they're like, I didn't go to college. Wait, you didn't go to college? No, I was born into money. So wait, so your CFO, your CEO, your whatever position with no degree, not even basket weaving, right? Zavi, I don't know. Bro, I don't know. Zavi asked, do you think affirmative action will go away? Brother, that's a great question. I don't know. Now that the Supreme Court is what it is, what does it right now? It's leaning conservative, right? Yeah, it's possible. I don't know how likely. Right? I can't say. I can't say. I wouldn't be surprised if it does get repealed. Right. And what you find is in different states, they pretty much already repealed it. I think in like 7 or 8 states, it pretty much doesn't play a factor anyway. Right? If so, what do you think Asians and other POC will do? POC stands for people of color, by the way, people. For those of you that don't know. So Asians and other people of color, I mean, Asians will benefit a little bit, right? Latinos and black people, not so much. Excuse me, let me make sure I say that correctly. Latinas and black women, not so much, right? Um, and Asian women will benefit. Asian men too, but Asian women will benefit, right? And if that continues, then what you will see in 20 years, 25 years, is once again a sea of white men running everything, even though they already run everything, and a handful of their Asian tokens that they will use as their lackeys to be like, look, we're not racist. We got Asian women and Asian men that agree with us. You mean those colorist ass South Asians over there? Or and I'm going to use the Japanese as an example, the Japanese that aligned with Hitler and the Nazis, East Asians over there. You mean those? Those are your allies? Those are the people you're going to use to say you're not racist? All right. Right? In 25, 30 years, that's what you will see. Right? I'm about people having individual rights. I'm about people having all the opportunity to rise and to fall. That's the other part of the game. That's why Tucker Carlson doesn't mention legacy admissions, right? Because that puts too many, and it's still not all. It's not even the majority, not even close. But it puts too many people on his level. It puts them in the position to get knocked off by people rising up the ranks. And they never want that. Right? That's why you gotta watch people like Tucker Carlson. And you have to ask about motive when people like him speak. It's not just about what they're saying. Why are they saying what they're saying? And just as importantly, why are they not saying certain things? That goes back to what Dr. Thunder was speaking about how he's pretty much being disingenuous on this. Kwani, not Kanye. Kwani says affirmative action is keeping the veil alive. Exactly. Yes, brother. Yes. Right. And y'all excuse my background. I'm on the side of the road right now. For those of you that missed what I was saying earlier in the beginning, this is off topic. I'm gonna be off topic for maybe like 2 minutes. The Z finally gave a crap on me this morning coming from work. The alternator went out. Thank God the car looked good being broke down. I had just washed it. And where it was, people stopping by, looking at it, gawking at it, liking it. Even the tow truck driver was like, "Nice car, beautiful car, man." I'm like, "Thank you." So yeah, it's the alternator. But while the mechanic's in there, I'm just gonna have him switch out the plugs. Maybe, well, if the plug, because the car has a slight misfire when it's going on the boost, it really starts to misfire just a smidge. So yeah, so I'm gonna have him go in there, check the plugs, check the coils. If it's not the coils, God, please, God, no, please. It might be the engine wire harness, and that's like a $2,000+ job. Please, God, not the engine wire harness. Y'all cross y'all fingers and knock on wood for me and pray it's not the engine wire harness, because guess what? For those of you that know anything about these particular cars, that's pulling the engine. Yeah, because the engine wire harness alone is like $700. But labor, because tight engine bay and twin turbo made in the 80s and then came out in the 90s, dictates that everything is overly complicated, because Nissan thought they was going to be going at the Porsche 911, which they kind of did, and the Corvette, C3 Corvette. So yeah, they overcomplicated the wiring of these things back in the late 80s, early 90s. So yeah, please, God, no, not the engine wire harness, right? The spark plugs are already expensive enough. The ignition coils are even more expensive. And then if I do all three, which is plugs, coils, engine wire harness, I'm out the pocket like, I don't know, grands. Just grands. Yeah. Mr. Z, why are you always at work? Girlfriend in car. Girlfriend and car. Right? And at one point, Mr. Z was pretty much a bum, and I appreciate having the ability to work and earn money and look out for those around me and be able to handle certain emergencies, right? So I when you go from that kind of extreme, when you have the ability, when you're on the other side, yeah, the hours suck, whatever, yeah, the time, right, that you don't have, it sucks. But on the other hand, you remember not having. And the ability and having is much better than not having, right? Zavi over here rhyming. Zavi said, "You got AAA on the way." Oh crap! Art New Style in here. Art New Style using profanity on y'all. You know it's real when Art start cursing. Art said, "F F Carlson." Right? But yeah, Art, yeah. He's yeah. I mean, he plays middle of the road, but then obviously he's not. We already know what he's about. And I want to be very clear. Maybe not so much for the brothers, but once white guys start talking they libertarian, they're really not. They're not like I don't okay, maybe I don't know what definition of libertarian they're using, but it tends, at least to me, it looks like no, you just Republican extreme, right? You're not the Jeb Bush Republicans, right? You're the Steve King Republican, right? You are the Richard Spencer Republican, right? What's the other chubby one with the glasses? That's part of the alt right. Hockbach or whatever, some German name, right? Can't remember what his name was. You're one of those. So when they say libertarian, I'm like, you sounding real Ayn Randish right now. Sounds Orwellian doublespeak right now, right? Sean Hannity 2.0. Yeah, but Tucker's smarter than Sean Hannity. Art New Style says Sean Hannity 2.0. But yeah, the difference is Tucker is smarter than Sean Hannity. He's smoother than Sean Hannity. And Sean Hannity doesn't make bones about his particular position politically. Tucker tries to play like he's middle of the road. Right? And he every once in a while he'll throw a bone to left-leaning ideas or even centrist ideas to make it seem like he's not the elitist that he is, and that he's also not attempting to protect his class position, which most of them on that side are, right? Their arguments are about protecting their class position. That's why they come off disingenuous often. That's why you could catch them up, right? Once again, y'all, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat, right? Shout out to all the brothers and sisters in here. I love talking politics, y'all. I love it. By the way, that's why I want to go back to school. That's why y'all see me. I go in on some of our college educated brothers and sisters, but I do want to go back to school because my major was political science and I want to finish that up. I want to go all the way master's level, right? I do. Because I'm not anti-education. Right. I always respect the brothers because I've watched my younger sister go through law school. She's graduating soon. Shout out to her. Right. Right. Because what's interesting is about the political game, y'all are witnessing it now. Tucker Carlson just gave y'all a prime example of being shady, right, and being duplicitous. He's making it. He's making the argument about race, but really, Tucker and the rest of the dudes on his level rest of the white guys on his level are really trying to get at white women. And they'll use Asians as the tool to get at them, and then they'll use anti-blackness as the face to get at white women and get white women back in line. Right. Oh, that globalization. That's another thing. Tucker Carlson not talking about like these kids pretty much buying their way into school, coming from other countries, and that's another wow. Thank you very much, brother. That's another thing. And DeVito just gave me that thought. That's another thing that's often not mentioned, is how people coming in from other countries are shooting up the price, right? Right. That's another thing that's not mentioned, but you guys, that's work related. So let me pause right here. We might pick this up later, and I got to do a part 2 to the music, the misandry and music. So I got to do a part 2 to that. So I got to do a part 2 to that and to this. Shout out to Dr. Thunder for his review of Tucker Carlson talking about affirmative action. I will link Dr. Thunder's video in my description. I'm gonna fix all of this up later. So I want to do a part 2 to this, and then I want to do a part 2, like I said, to the misandry music. Like I told y'all give y'all suggestions mainly of 90s R&B music, and the misandry and 90s R&B music. So we're gonna do a part 2 to that, obviously, and specially Chinese, bruh. Thank you. What, bruh? And and I'll end out with this. A couple years ago, I don't remember it was the Black Authority or it was Professor Black Truth. They covered and they read up on a couple of articles. One I think was pertaining to China in particular, and then one was like pertaining to America. And the one in China showed like what these parents in China are willing to do to get their kids into like the best high schools, because the best high schools you get into the best colleges, and like they're over here literally on walkie-talkies cheating loud. Like the parent is downstairs on a walkie-talkie reading the answer out to the child in class. They're that blatant with it. And then those same people, when they can't get into like, they're super difficult to get into universities in China, they try to get their kids into Harvard or Yale and Princeton over here, right? Or Stanford over here, or UCLA over here, right? Or Brown over here, right? Yeah, it's real. It's real, y'all. So I'll pause right there. Love, peace, and chicken grease. All right, y'all, I'm out. All right, y'all. Mr. Z out. You know, like I said, this is a great conversation. Shout out to Dr. Thunder. Yeah, y'all just, I'm not about to dictating to anyone what they should align with politically. I have my political views. I've been very forthright with them, and it's subject to change, right, as I get older and more mature. But you know, y'all be careful for these, definitely for these non-black people, right? The Tucker Carlsons of the world, rich elites, white people. Like, I look at them side eye from top, because I need to know what angle you're coming from, what you're trying to protect, and who you're trying to get at, right? So I'll truly pause right there. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Like I said, I'll love, peace, and chicken grease, and shout out to all of you. Have a great day.